You ready, Mr. Council President?
Yes, can we call the meeting to order?
Council President, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for August 15th, 2013 to order at 8:02 p.m. On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is on vacation in Texas. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Here.
Conboy.
Here.
Patagano.
Here.
Bonsino.
Here.
Coletti.
Here.
And Mayor Mola is absent on vacation out of the country. We have a quorum.
Could everybody please stand for our flag salute and prayer? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. O God, our Father, we ask you to bless our meeting, which we entrust to you, faithfully, care, and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and implant therein a keen sense of justice and a great love for you and our neighbors. Guide us in our deliverance so that our decisions will always be pleasing and bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen. Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey require at the commencement of every meeting a statement of compliance be read by the presiding officer. Now, therefore, be it advised that the meeting requirements for this meeting have been met by posting an annual meeting notice to the record of the Herald and the Hackensack newspapers of West Paterson, and by posting such notice in the office of the borough clerk as well as in a public place within the municipal building, and by notifying interested citizens. Said notice has been posted January 1st, 2013. For those of you out there who are scratching your eyes and they're saying, well, what's going on here? That's not Mayor Mola. Well, you're right. You don't need no Visine. He's experiencing his annual vacation in Aruba and should be back in 2 weeks. And as council president, well, I will try to assume his duties. I'd like to make mention about the cable channel 77 that is photographing us this evening. The showings would be Wednesday 2 p.m., Thursday 4 p.m., Friday 12 p.m., and on the web it's www.elmwoodparknj.us. Mr. Kasmar?
Council President, under item 4, approval of minutes, we have the meeting minutes for June 13th, 2013 work session, June 27th, 2013 work session, July 18th, 2013 regular meeting, and August 1st, 2013 executive session.
Gentlemen, a motion to accept?
So moved.
Bonsino? Conboy?
Any discussion?
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Patagano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Council President, under ordinances this evening on first reading, we have Resolution 259-13, introduce ordinance 13-24 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 4 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Time Due Policy be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, September 19th, 2013 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter as same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the borough clerk be and he's hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law. And through you, Council President, I just want to make note to the folks in the public that this ordinance came through from our attorney and was signed off by the police chief at approximately 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that's why the title on the version that you may be looking at in the audience is different than what I just read into the record.
Thank you. Gentlemen, a motion?
So moved.
Conboy, Bonsino, any discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Patagano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 260-13, introduce ordinance 13-25 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, entitled Parks and Recreation Areas, be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, September 19th, 2013, at 8 p.m., or soon thereafter, as same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
So move.
Motion? I got to say that first, though.
Sorry, sir. Don't hold it against me.
I like that sir business. I like
You
that.
can send me home if you want for punishment.
Motion, gentlemen?
So move.
Second.
Conboy and Vansino. It's a lot of silence on this end there.
They're beating us to the punch.
Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Conboy,
Yes.
Patagano,
Yes.
Bonsino,
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-261-13, introduce ordinance 13-20 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of an easement at Block 1407, Lot 9, 357 Market Street, in by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $86,500 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for such the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, July 18th, 2013, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of an easement Block 1407, Lot 9, 357 Market Street, in by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $86,500 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading. Council President will need a motion to open to the public.
Gentlemen, a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Vansino? Patagano?
All in favor?
Call the roll, please.
On a motion to open to the public, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Conboy,
Yes.
Patagano,
Yes.
Bonsino,
Yes.
Coletti.
Does anyone in the audience care to speak on this ordinance? I'd like to close the public portion. Gentlemen, a motion to accept this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Larry Patagano. Any discussion? Mr. Casmore, could you possibly explain to all of us about this ordinance?
Yes, Council President. This is with regard to the county's project to redesign the Market Street and Boulevard intersection. This project has been in the works for some time. However, it was the municipality's responsibility to gain the easements that were necessary for the county to come in and do this construction work. So we have two pending easements. This will put in place the funding to resolve one of those, and we continue to be in negotiation with the second one, but we seem to be close to a settlement in that matter as well.
Gentlemen, any further discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Conboy,
Yes.
Patagano,
Yes.
Bonsino,
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-262-13, introduce ordinance 13-21 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of streetscape improvements to Market Street from Beach Street to the Boulevard, in by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $687,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, July 18th, 2013, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of streetscape improvements to Market Street from Beach Street to the Boulevard, in by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $687,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an appropriation, and to provide the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading. Council President will need a motion to open to the public.
Gentlemen, a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Conboy and Vansino. Any discussion? Mr. Kazmark, would you mind explaining?
If we could take a voice vote, Council President, on the motion to open to the public?
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard? On this ordinance and this ordinance only? Council President, seeing no one, I take a motion to close.
Gentlemen, a motion to close public portion?
Second.
Vansino, Patagano.
Voice vote.
Roll call?
All in favor to close?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Council President, we'll need a motion to approve the bond ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Conboy, Vansino. Any discussion? Call the roll?
Would you like me to explain it, Council President?
Yes, please. I think that would help us.
Okay. For the public's edification, this is a bond ordinance that has been authorized by the mayor and council relative to a grant that we've received from the Department of Transportation with the state of New Jersey in the amount of $584,000 to continue the Market Street streetscape work as referenced in the resolution from Beach Street to the Boulevard. The delta between the amount being financed of $687,000 and the $584,000 that has been allocated by the state are the soft costs associated with the project: engineering, design fees, inspection fees, and the like. So that equates to the sum that we're financing this evening, authorizing this evening.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Patagano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 263-13, introduce ordinance 13-22 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled amending ordinance 2-63.5, the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, entitled Outside Police Contracting Service Fee, and whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, July 18th, 2013, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved that by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance amending ordinance 2-63.5, the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, entitled Outside Police Contracting Service Fee Schedule, pass on final reading. And again, Council President will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Vansino, Patagano.
Voice vote?
I'm sorry?
Voice vote?
Yes. Gentlemen?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Rich Chowinski, 42 Walnut Street. Gentlemen, can you just clarify, because I've been reading a lot of articles in the Summit Shop or some information. This ordinance will not impact the taxpayers at all, is that correct? It's not considered overtime,
No.
No, this is outside work.
and the school will be charged anything additional?
They're
right?
holding the rates firm on the school.
Because the way some people have been reading it's overtime and everything else, but it's not, right?
No.
Okay.
It's purely when the police officers are working for security with an outside private contractor.
Yeah, so they pay for it, and that's that.
That's
Okay.
correct. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to speak on this ordinance?
We'll
Like
need
to
a-
close the public portion?
Can we take a motion to close?
Motion to close?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Conboy
Got it.
and Vansino. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On a motion to close, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Patagano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
And we'll need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
So,
I'll move.
Mr. Castiglia
Yes.
and Vansino?
Got it. On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Patagano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R 264-13, introduce ordinance 13-23 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending ordinance 7-14 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours on Certain Streets. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, July 18th, 2013, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. Now, whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Ordinance 7-14 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours on Certain Streets pass on final reading. We'll need a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Conboy?
Second.
Pettigano?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this ordinance and this ordinance only?
Good evening, gentlemen. Joe Dombrowski, 274 Lincoln Avenue. As this ordinance has been written, I think you're going to eventually come back to relook at this. Is 8 to 10 enough time? What happens when the teacher has her lunch hour? She can go outside, move her car, put it back in that same spot. I know the reason why this was written because of the residents on Gilbert Avenue having issues with the teachers parking on the street. This should go from 8 to 3, so that there's no parking in that area between 8 and 3. I just think that you're going to end up coming back to this ordinance sometime down the road to have to adjust it.
Does anybody on the council care to address that?
Well, I guess I will in absence of Councilman Catamanga. Mr. Dombrowski, as you have been attending some of the work meetings, maybe you didn't hear the logistics of why we were doing this and why at this time frame. This is being done, folks, over a number of years now. This is nothing new. For a couple of years now, the DPW's had trouble in getting into this particular stretch of the neighborhood for street sweeping or for leaf picking up and so forth. The reason why we've chosen this time frame, Councilman Catamanga, as well as Keith, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Clerk, I think we also sent out a mailing to the residents in this area, impacted in the area. This was all done after they signed, if I'm not mistaken, a petition as well about to do this particular area. The reason why this time frame has been picked is that we believe, probably in most cases, most teachers probably will stay for the day inside, since that's just an assumption on our part. But the number one reason why it's this time frame is that the residents in that area are impacted, that they cannot park in front of their house either from then 8 to 3 in the morning, when, if I'm not mistaken, it impacts like maybe 6 homes that are on that particular street, roughly. I could be off the numbers a little bit, but some of those residents live at home, at home during the day. They're maybe seniors that are home during the day. This way they can at least then park in front of their homes. So that was the time frame chosen. And the residents agreed to this time frame that it impacts.
Just like I said, you may be revisiting this someday. Very soon.
Possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak on this ordinance? If not, I'd like
Motion
to
to close.
close the public portion. Motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Fonsino
Second.
and Castiglia. I think I got that right. A motion to accept this, gentlemen?
So moved.
Fonsino,
Second.
Castiglia. Any discussion? Mr. Kazmark, do you care to elaborate on this?
As was referenced during the public session, this will prevent parking on Gilbert Avenue on school days on the south side from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. between Viveny Street and Spidell Avenue in order to address school staff parking in that area during those hours.
Thank you, Mr. Kazmark. Call the roll, please.
Excuse me, Council
Okay,
President, just make
yes.
one more comment on this. Again, I know I kind of just said it, I just want to reemphasize 2 things. Again, we worked with the residents that impact this area. We just didn't create this out of the blue. We all worked on it together. Councilman Catamanga lives in that particular area, as well as the residents that are impacted, and he's worked on it. This has been an ongoing problem. This just didn't happen overnight. This has been going on for a number of years. A couple of years ago, Councilman Castiglia, he's liaison to DPW. He worked with our borough clerk and the mayor and council and our DPW head, Scott Cars. We started putting signs up so that we could get the leaves out of the neighborhood before the snow would start to fall or anything else like that. So we've had for a number of years now. I would say probably, I'm going to guess 3, at least 3, last 3 years now. We've tried to work with the Board of Education and our superintendent has tried numerous times to tell the staff, please, we have park. It's not a matter we don't have parking for you. It's just that right across the street's a lot easier for some of the teachers. So this is now after at least a 3-year discussion, ongoing thing to try to correct the area with a permanent time thing. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Conboy. Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Catamagna is absent. Castiglia?
Yes.
Conboy?
Yes.
Pettigano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
Yes.
Coletti?
Yes.
Motion carries. Council President, under the consent agenda this evening, we have Resolution 265-13, payment of bills, Resolution 266-13, confirmation of checks, Resolution 267-13, confirmation of payroll, Resolution 268-13, approve annual report of the municipal audit for the calendar year 2012, Resolution 269-13, approve block party for 15th Avenue, Resolution 270-13, approve seasonal employee in the building department Brian Mutch, Resolution 271-13, authorization of maintenance of 83 18th Street, Resolution 272-13, authorize summer camp refund in the Recreation Department, Resolution 273-13, authorize supporting the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2013 statewide crackdown, Resolution 274-13, approve insertion of dedication of rider into 2013 budget, Resolution 275-13, approve cancellation of stale checks, Resolution 276-13, renew 2013-2014 liquor license for Zelda Liquors LLC, Resolution 277-13, release road opening performance bond for Henry Kwasnick, Resolution 278-13, appoint crossing guard in the Police Department. Resolution 279-13, authorize the establishment of a LoSAP account. Resolution 280-13, approve request to utilize Borough Grandstand for St. Leo's RC Church. Resolution 281-13, resolution to authorize the borough's co-sponsorship of the Elmwood Park Chamber of Commerce in the upcoming second annual Elmwood Park 5K Run Walk. Resolution 282-13, approve request to place a banner for the 5K run for the Chamber of Commerce. Resolution 283-13, authorize $3,000 for lighting at the Broadway train station. That's a project in conjunction with the DOT and with Fairlawn. Resolution 284-13, redeem third-party tax lien, Block 1202, Lot 35. Resolution 285-13, redeem third-party tax lien, Block 602, Lot 18. Resolution 286-13, redeem third-party tax lien, Block 116, Lot 5. Resolution 287-13, redeem third-party tax lien, Block 504, Lot 10. Resolution 288-13, redeem third-party tax lien, Block 1407, Lot 14. Resolution 289-13, approve temporary registered environmental health specialist in the Health Department. And Resolution 290-13, approve alcohol beverage permit for social affair for the Elmwood Park PBA Local 182.
Motion on this consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Conboy and Vancino. Any discussion, gentlemen? Keith, I have a question.
Sure.
On R-275-13, what's a stale check?
It's a check that the borough issued that was never cashed.
Oh, I thought it was like something that smelled or something like that. Okay.
Get to keep. Thank you for those not cashing.
Any further discussion, gentlemen?
Said 182 is 185.
PBA, Local 185.
Oh,
Call the roll, please.
I'll have that out with my deputy in the morning. Roll call. Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Castiglia?
Yes.
Conboy?
Yes.
Pettigano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
Yes.
Coletti?
Yes.
Motion carries. Under departmental reports this evening, we have the library minutes from May 20th, 2013, the municipal court report for June 2013, and the police department report for June 2013.
Motion, gentlemen.
So moved.
So,
Second.
Castiglia and Conboy. Any discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia?
Yes.
Conboy?
Yes.
Pettigano?
Yes.
Bonsino?
Yes.
Coletti?
Yes.
Applications, we have the St. Leo's Holy Name Society, their 50/50 raffle application, and the Gilbert Avenue Home and School Association 50/50 raffle application.
So moved.
Resolution. A motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Conboy,
Second.
Vansino? He just beat you out.
Give it to Glenn, you give it to Glenn.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmember Catamagna is absent. Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Pettigano.
Yes.
Bonsino.
Yes.
Coletti. Motion carries. Council President, that concludes my portion of the agenda.
Okay.
Committee reports.
Committee reports. We'll start off with Mr. Castiglia.
Thank you. The month of August, we have no planning board meeting, so I don't have anything to report on that. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the Gilbert Avenue thing that Councilman Conboy was talking about. I guess it was about 3 years ago I started getting some correspondence from the people that live on that street. Like he explained before, there was a problem not only with leaf pickup but with other things. Cutting your grass, there's always a stranger's car in front of your house. You're afraid of hitting the car or getting grass on it, or trimming trees or whatever you might need to do on your property. There's always cars parked in front of your house. The leaves were especially a problem. Even from the DPW, they had some concerns with it. If you did manage to get your leaves out in front of your house on the weekend, by the time the DPW truck came around to pick it up during the week, there was a car parked on the leaves. So it was a problem all the way around. We did, I think it's 3 or 4 years now, during leaf season, we had signs out, no parking. I believe it was between 9 a.m. and noon on Wednesdays, so the DPW trucks could get in there and pick up the leaves. So this is something they really need on that street, and I think it's going to work out fine. We couldn't extend the hours anymore. We'll see how it works out. We couldn't extend the hours anymore because, of course, that's telling the people that live there that they can't park in front of their own house on an extended day also. So that's why we tried to keep it down to about 2 hours. We'll see how it works out. Other than that, Council President, progress.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
Mr. Conboy?
Ooh, you're bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, change it
Jumping
around a little.
Oh,
I wanna keep
shake
him
me up.
moving.
I gotta get my game face on.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep there.
He's starting to fall asleep behind the
Oh,
camera.
no,
so-
no, not yet. Okay, first I'd like to start out with, I want to thank everybody. We had another wonderful National Night Out. It was great to see so many residents come out. Every year we keep upping our count on hot dogs and water and Italian ice. So it seems like the town is doing quite well in meeting our needs. I think we're ready to take on Nathan's because we ate over 700 hot dogs up from the year prior and gave away a lot of water. I'm going to go on a little bit here because I don't want to forget anybody, but on National Night Out, again, it's a great night to come out and talk with all of our departments. Of course, our police department, our police chief, Tommy Johnson, and many of his crew who could attend, who weren't working or on vacation were there. And it's a great time to talk about the safety, especially during the summer months when we do go away, having neighbors looking out for each other. And there was a lot of great conversations, sidebars going on at the police tent, as well as talking with our other departments. And our fire department was there. Chief Mutel, his guys, everybody there were fantastic. The ambulance corps was there in full presence, cooking up those wonderful hot dogs and dishing out the water. And Pete Pius, our president of our volunteer ambulance corps. So just so I don't miss anybody, I just want to again thank the chief and all his department people, President Pete Pius, and Dee Calandrillo over at the ambulance corps and their entire crew, Chief Sulik, and Assistant Chief Mike Pressler, who ran the evening that night. Did a fantastic job. Our recreation director, Donna Pugliese, and her crew, Scott Cars and his whole crew. We could not have had it there. It was a nice night, and everyone kept it real good. And of course, our DPW keeps our park area there really nice and clean and nice for the borough to come on out. In our borough clerk's office, our clerk's assistant, Barbara Despoto, did a fantastic job getting us goodies and freebies. A lot of great folks in town also helped. From DJ Sound Surge, we have our own DJ Raphael here in town, who's been a resident here in our community a long time, his whole life, I believe. And he did a fantastic job giving up his services for the night. I'd like to thank George Nova, a resident here in town, whose son happens to be the quarterback at Rutgers, just named captain of the team, one of the captains. He owns James Vincent Bikes down in North Bergen, and he donated 3 beautiful bikes to be the kids had to compete in a contest, a horse derby race. No betting was taken, so we didn't break any laws, but the kids had a great time. And 4 Seasons for giving us the Italian ices. It was a really nice night by everybody. Couple of things going on in town. Just want to mention everybody as they're winding down from summer. As you heard tonight, we passed a couple of things regarding our Chamber of Commerce. Their second annual 5K run is coming up. This year, their 5K run will take place on September 22nd. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the members of the Chamber in the audience here, John Mareka, who's on the Chamber, as well as a big part to do with this 5K run. If I'm not mistaken, it's also a sanctioned run this year. So for all of our runners, this is a great opportunity for your point standings and so forth. So it is a sanctioned run this year. But to add to the fun, we're also going to have a kids run. We're expanding the course to involve more of the town, and everyone's working very well together to make that happen. And we have four folks that are in need of this wonderful day that's going to help benefit them as well. So September 22nd is that second annual 5K run. Just hold up this poster here for our good photographer over there to get that up there for everybody. He's a good go. So please come on out there. It's going to be a great day. A lot of great activities happening and so forth. So please support that. So again, I want to thank everybody for having a great helping out down at the Recreation Center this year. There's a lot of positive things happening in our community. Maybe not everything you hear about. Certainly everyone knows our summer camp this year was a unified camp working with the Board of Education. It ran really well. I want to thank everybody at the Board of Ed, our superintendent, Dr. Tomko, and Mr. Egan, for everyone working hard together to help some of these services come back together. It really benefited the town. Get involved down in recreation. We got a great upcoming schedule this year. Ms. Puglisi is doing a fantastic job down there, getting a lot of new activities going in the upcoming school year. Get involved in our soccer, our wrecking crew. You see around town, they have signs up. Registration is still ongoing. Please don't forget to come out for a great organization. Our Bombers football, they're still taking children in registration. Again, something else that's been working, behind the scenes. I want to congratulate both baseball organizations. They have been meeting throughout the spring and summer, and in the fall ball will now be a unified fall ball. They are joining forces together, and then of course as well in spring. So congratulations to all those great men and women, all the parents and all the players. You're going to have a great time at baseball. I want to congratulate the 10-year-old Little League team. As you saw in the shopper, they won the Paramus tournament. They're undefeated champions. I think when the mayor returns, they want to come in and show off their big 4-foot-high trophy to everyone. Let's see here. Also, some things that are happening down at the rec I'd like to share with everybody. In about a week or so, construction is going to start in the gymnasium. Since the building went up, we have the original gym floor that's there. We're getting a brand new gymnasium floor down in the rec center. And that's very exciting to see that happening. As well, unofficially at the moment, we're just waiting for approval from the freeholders. We believe that will happen, but we are working with the county, our borough clerk, Keith Kasmark, and the mayor and council as we reviewed appropriations and worked on different things. This year, one of the things we were trying to also do is get the recreation kitchen remodeled. It has not been remodeled since it opened. And through Mr. Kasmark and Ms. Puglisi and the mayor working on this, the county is going to help us with the grant, community development monies, and to help rehab the kitchen for about $25,000. They're going to help give us towards it to bring the kitchen more up to code and so forth, and make it more usable for our seniors who are there every day and are fed meals and so forth. So we're very excited about that. And as you may have also read last week, we're also going to continue finishing the work down at English Avenue. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Conboy. I would like to add regarding National Night Out that most of the council was there that evening supporting the town. And Mr. Conboy, you did an excellent job as an MC in keeping the excitement up for the entire night. I know you do a lot of reporting and bragging about a lot of our entities and people working, and sometimes we need a little pat on the back ourselves, but great job on the MCing.
Thank you, Council President.
Mr. Pettigano.
Thank you. There is no new news with the health department this month. But I do want to congratulate the rec department on the successful night out, and I had a really good time. It was very good. Thank you. That's it for me tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Vancino?
Yes, thank you. Just to piggyback on remarks on National Night Out, First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our police department, together with our volunteer ambulance corps, fire department, and many municipal employees for hosting a successful National Night Out to raise awareness of crime prevention and foster a partnership between our emergency service personnel and our residents. I'd like to thank the residents for coming out and showing strong support last Thursday evening. And I would be remiss if I did not single out Councilman Conboy. Tom is the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak.
Reggie Jackson?
He has a vision of how things should be, and then he goes and executes it. He brings a tremendous amount of energy to events like these, and without his guidance, they would not be the success they are. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Councilman.
New school year is right around the corner. I would ask our residents and visitors to Elmwood Park to be especially mindful of our school-age children navigating their way to school. Please obey all traffic signals and signage throughout the borough, but be especially careful and take note around our school areas for their safety. That's the utmost importance. Also, as August winds down to the unofficial end of summer, I would like to remind our grammar school, high school, and college-age students to enjoy the last couple of weeks of vacation, have fun, but be ready to hit the books hard in the very near future. And if you bear with me on a personal note regarding school, tomorrow I'm bringing my youngest son, Michael, to Tuscaloosa. He'll be a freshman and a ROTC cadet at the University of Alabama. I wish him much success. While my wife and I are in Alabama, we'll visit Maxwell Air Force Base to see my older son, who's graduating from Air Force field training. Haven't spoken to him in about a month, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I'd like to thank both of them for their desire to serve our country. I'm proud of them. And finally, wish everybody in town a happy and safe holiday weekend coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boncino. Now a word from our municipal attorney who's been talking so much this evening. Steve is in lieu of Brian Gibbon, right?
I'm Mike, and I have nothing to add. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Kudos once again to the ambulance corps, the police department, fire department, rec department on their efforts bringing us a second-to-none National Night Out. A great night for the town. Regarding our school district, as many of you might know, they will be seeking a $10 million referendum, $6 million from the residents, $4 million in state grants. And I want to emphasize for safety and repairs. And I think that's very important to understand that. I can't tell you how to vote on an issue like this. What I can tell you, though, is that I spent 3.5 hours last year touring these facilities, and what I saw roofs that were 45 years old, windows leaking, safety structural problems. So if we take that all into consideration, the state is willing to give us $4 million, that's 40% of these repairs that can be taken from the state and offset a $10 million referendum, bringing us down to 6. This might be the right time to consider this, considering that the state at this point is willing to give us a $4 million. Finally, we are approaching political season, and I'd like to say to the candidates, let's keep it clean, stick to the issues, don't get personal. The trick is to be able to look in your opponent's eyes 10 years from now when he's walking down the street and knowing that you or that person didn't do anything wrong. So let's be clean about it, fellas. And that concludes my report. Now I'd like to open the meeting to the public.
Need a motion?
Need a motion?
Motion?
No.
No? No. Do we need a motion? Oh, we need a motion.
Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Hillman Drive. In talking about the Gilbert Avenue issue with the parking, has anyone ever considered, or has it ever been brought up or considered, to have alternate side of the street parking regarding street sweeping, regarding leaf pickup, things like that. Has that ever been considered? I know it's done by the apartments, over between 16th Avenue and Broadway. Has it ever been considered anywhere else? And it's not particularly a problem where I live. It's all one-family residences, but my son lives where there are a lot of two-family residences, and oftentimes leaves, he lives on Phillip Avenue, and leaves are raked and things like that, and cars park right on top. Well, that's another issue because of fire hazard and things like that. But if there was alternate side of the street parking, the streets could be swept better. And even in my own home, sometimes people are parked on the street in front of my house, next to me, or whatever, and it doesn't get swept. Or they swing out and go around it. And has that ever been considered?
Jeff, I'm sure we've considered that in the past many a time, and all different variations and options have been considered. Recently, this was the latest, and what happens in a situation like this is you get a problem in that immediate area, and those residents want some resolve to that problem. So you have to react to that. But to answer your question, in the past, there has been consideration for that.
Well, you guys govern the way you want to govern. I mean, you're the elected officials. But I would always think being a visionary or being someone who's proactive, for an overuse of the term often used today, that you might want to consider that, because even though people may not complain, people are often silent about a lot of things. I'll drive up down the street, I'm retired, and you'll see TVs and things with cathode ray tube, picture tubes and TVs, computer screens. They lie on the streets for weeks. People don't complain, nobody picks them up, nobody says anything. So to make the town better as a whole, sometimes people need to react maybe what a resident or other people bring to their attention, and it's not always something that when you plug your finger in a hole when there's a leak, maybe you should prepare for the leak. So what I'm saying is, in order to make the town cleaner, that might want to be something to be considered. I mean, just from grass, the town picks up grass, and the guys from the DPW, they may pick up the grass, but they don't throw the garbage pail back on the sidewalk. They'll throw it in the street. So what does the street sweeper come and do? Go right around it and go. And that's a frequent issue. Yeah. And I've even asked them on a few occasions. I get my lawn cut, but sometimes I'll have grass or other things to dispose of, weeds I pull or whatever. And I just throw it. And garbage men do this too. Yes. And then what will happen, Monday is the day they sweep my street. So what happens? They just go right around. Or the street sweeper comes after the DPW or the garbage men come. So if there were alternate side of the street parking, which would permit, it works in the apartments. There's a heck of a lot more cars parking on the street there, and they sweep the streets and keep it clean. So somebody, was that due to complaints, due to make the cars move? I don't know what it was, but it would make cars move. It would make that happen. That's always an issue, and it would also allow for a cleaner community. That's just my 2 cents, and just something I thought I might like to mention, because like in Gilbert Avenue, there's obviously an issue with leaves, as was mentioned, and things like that. So it also is a problem in other places. People may not complain, but sometimes you really have to see if it's a problem on Gilbert Avenue. It's probably in a lot of other places. Gantner Avenue, people park on the street over there who are on the staff of the school, because there's not enough parking for all the staff. So likewise, they park on the street there. Maybe the people don't complain, but maybe it's an issue that needs to be addressed. If they had alternate side, like many cities and many communities do, Fairlawn, you can't park at night on the street, but it would permit the street to be clean. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Mr. Kazmark, 1 second. Can you just possibly talk to our traffic expert and make mention of what Mr. Freitag has said, and see if there's any substance to alternate side parking?
Will do.
Thank you. Yes, Tom.
If I can, and to Mr. Freitag's point, we always, as he knows, he comes to our meetings and follows us. You know, we've addressed many areas, whether it be for this issue or that issue. What makes, and as he said, the resident said, it's the unknown. And I've been up here 6 years. Some have been here. Council President Coletti has served not just now, but previously as well. We do, as the it's the unknown. You don't know the unknown. We're trying something new with snow plowing in our community, which has been retooled a few times. What makes the Gilbert Ave issue a little bit different is that we know what's impacting the pickup and so forth and everything else. So there's that unknown piece, as you said, unless folks come forward, we would know that that's an issue there. Now, with that said, though, we also, on numerous occasions, when we get into this area, we take a lot of information that comes from our DPW superintendent. And I'm not saying it's not happening, Jeff, if I may, but I know he would share with us and his staff that if we're having a problem with picking up, this has, again, been a concentrated problem because we know what's making it happen is the fact that the teachers are parking there. And something with the street sweeper, now that you're home during the day, you might notice with our street sweeper, he's in that concentrated area the whole day. So I know myself when I'm home a few times, you'll see him go by quite a few times. It's not just one pass. Where in some towns, it's one pass and you're out. Yeah, no, I didn't. No, I'm not at all impacting that you're saying that at all. So they do make the effort. It's not like as if he's trying to do the whole town in one day. He concentrate on that whole pickup setup. And I agree with you on the thing with the TVs and so forth. But as you may know, and as we keep trying to educate our residents, helping them understand, I know it's in the recycle book, the DPW doesn't pick that stuff up anymore. It's your job to take it down so it gets recycled properly at the DPW yard. So unfortunately, some of our residents still haven't picked up on that. But that's why it will lay there. They won't pick it up. I'm not sure. Maybe what we should do is, this might be happening already, is the building department noticing, would that fall under them or DPW, Mr. Clerk, or what do you?
It would fall under DPW.
DPW, to notify the resident that they need to move it? Yeah. Okay. I'm sure they're doing that, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Just one thing, Jeff. I get your point with the alternate side parking. We have a few sections in town where we do have alternate side parking, and as Councilman Conboy was explaining, there are certain reasons for it. And I myself have been personally involved because I even went out and knocked on people's door and asked them what they prefer. And what we found was it was very close. The people on that street, it's very close. I don't want alternate side parking, and I do. It's not something that you would just put on the whole town. I think a lot of people have preference that they want to park wherever they can park, wherever they can. In front of their house. Yeah, they like to be in front of their house, but if it's across the street, it's,
Yeah. And if I could just piggyback on that for a second.
Yeah.
Jeff, you mentioned Mr. Freitag. I know. But respectfully, you mentioned your area where your son's living, the two-family area. This is why this governing body a couple of years ago shut down some of the zones to slow that down, process of it happening. But besides the unknown of the folks, and this is true because we hear this as councilmen. Yeah. The mayor will tell you for 40 years he's listened to this, and this is the part that gets sticky, is for where the two families are, or the fact that in most cases, or I'm going to say maybe 50-50, maybe it's even higher. The owner of the home doesn't even live there. He or she is an investor, and they have the two-family home. And what we find out a lot, but again, nobody wants to, because they want to live there. It's a beautiful two-bedroom apartment, whatever the case may be. Some of the problems is that the landowner, the homeowner, the person who owns the property, forbids them to park in the driveway. And they'll tell us, and unless I could say, well, Mr. Freitag came to complain, he's afraid then of his landlord. I mean, it's a known fact. I'm not telling you anything that's a secret here. That's something that's happening in our, we try the best we can. Yeah, there's laws that say you have to let them have, as Councilman Castigo could tell you, is 20-plus years on planning board. He could definitely tell you how that we tell the landlords you need to have, right, one in, one out, and so forth. And but that's what happens. We're trying to crack down on that every time we can. When you get a resident who's willing to share it with us and put themselves out on a limb because they're a tenant.
Yeah.
Does anyone else in the audience care to speak? State your name and address, please, for the record, even though we all know who you are.
Rich Trowitzki, 42 Walnut Street. Council President, Councilman. On that issue with the parking, though, in 1978, we did pass an ordinance in this town that the landlord has to give 2 spaces to the tenant. Unfortunately, it has never been followed through with. It would be prudent for you people here to keep announcing at the meeting so some of these tenants would know it and they can approach the building department on it. Most of them are afraid to approach the building department because they figure the landlord would throw them out. But that is an ordinance on the book that they have to supply 2 off-street spaces to the tenant. Anything built after 1978.
It's true.
And that was the reason they expanded the 2 families by 5% more.
It's true.
If you keep announcing, maybe looking forward. The main reason I came tonight, Council President, was to speak about the library. But before I do that, I see the PBA President, Mr. Myers, here. I'd like to commend the police. I had an incident about 2 weeks ago at my personal residence, about 3 o'clock in the morning. My garage door opened. And that's a scary feeling when your garage door opens at 3 o'clock in the morning. You might think it's radio interference or something. But with the newer garage remotes and doors, the code is always scrambled, so it's almost impossible. Well, needless to say, as I was going down the stairs in my underwear, basically, to go outside and see what was going on, I called the police. And within 30 seconds, I had 4 police cars there to search my garage and give me a hand. I commend it. It was very quick.
Wow.
Thank you.
So he saw you in your underwear?
No,
He's got his pants on by then.
I was going to say,
Yeah, on to the library. I just would like to know where we stand on the library. Are we still going through with the expansion, or is the library board still going through with their expansion plans? Because I watched some tapes of the last meeting, and now I'm hearing there isn't a library plan or a capital plan. Can anybody address that issue for me? Or not?
last we heard that they were proceeding, which seems to be taking a long period of time, but they were proceeding
They have architectural plans or drawings?
in the process.
Okay. Because when I sat on the council with a few people here, remember when the library came to us to pave their parking lot. This is where this all started, so I'd like to educate some of the other councilmen who are here. And it was $60,000 to put on our road program at the time. And when I did my homework, our auditor told us we had excess funds in the library of almost $1 million. Okay. Brought that up at a council meeting, and we were told that was registered with the capital plan for the state for improvements, and we could not touch it. Did a little further homework with the state. The state notified us that we do not have a capital plan, and you can do whatever you want with that excess funds. Well, so let me give you some education how this excess funds comes about with a state-mandated library. The taxpayers, that's you people, pay a third of the assessed mill of the town to the library board every year. In the good times, it amounts to about $850,000. In the bad times, $700,000 to $750,000. The budget on those past years was maximum at $625,000. You can do the math to see what's left over. Now, the library board should be commended. They put all these funds in one spot. They finally consolidated them, put them in CDs, whatever. However, the capital plan wasn't instituted until after we asked for funds for them to pay parking lot. Now, I understand they want to put an addition on for the children, which I'm in favor of keeping your library open. Make no mistake about that, and rumors that are out there. But I am in favor of prudent spending. The recommendation from the state with excess funds, which is not a law, although Senator Bernaccio was working on laws at this time, is to take 20% over your budget and give the excess funds back to the taxpayers. Because in essence, it is the taxpayers' money. And the due diligence of the library is to spend it wisely. Now, if you figure that out, you can figure out how much we should get back or we should have gotten back. Needless to say, the capital plan came out, which the state allowed it to do. We said fine. And we took the capital plan apart. Lou Von Zeno did an excellent job on that. Instead of putting the addition on, we recommended to close up the inner, or you might call it atrium or hole, with the old skylights that are leaking, where your heat and cold air is going out all summer, and pick up all the extra room you need and put the children's addition inside of the library, which would to a cost of about $400,000, thereby leaving some $800,000, which would go back to the taxpayers for tax relief only. The state is explicit about this. It can only go down to pay down taxes. It cannot go in your general budget. But at this time, just make no mistake, some of these rumors that are flying, we're stealing the library's money. It's your money. It's the taxpayers' money, ladies and gentlemen. And make no mistake, like I said, to close the library would be foolish at this time. It's good for children to see what a library is like, although the electronic age is coming. And more like, I was reading Fairlawn's capital plan at this time. It's spelled totally electronic, so you can get every book online. That's capital plan, ladies and gentlemen. We can build all the buildings we want, but we've got to be prudent of what we spend on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chewinski. Anyone else care to speak? If not, I'd like to close the public portion. Gentlemen, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good evening.